Welcome to Betrayed and Broken S. Enjoy watching, we hope you will have fun with us. It started with a single glance. Intense, magnetic, impossible to ignore. When Lucas stepped into the moonlit woods that night, she wasn't looking for trouble. She just wanted space to breathe, to escape the weight of expectations, pressing down on her ever since she turned 19. But fate had other plans. That's when she saw him. Cale, mysterious, brooding, and impossibly powerful. The moment their eyes met, the air shifted. It wasn't just attraction. It was something ancient, something dangerous. Lucas had always heard the whispers about alphas, how they were feared and respected, how no one dared challenge their strength. But nothing had prepared her for the real thing. Cale wasn't just an alpha. He was the alpha, untouchable, dominant and hiding secrets, darker than the forest itself. She knew she should have walked away. She knew getting close to him would break every rule she'd ever been taught. But that night something pulled her in. He warned her once, told her that his world was nothing like hers, that the bond between an alpha and a human wasn't just forbidden. It was irreversible, but curiosity got the better of her. So did the electricity that sparked when he touched her hand. That single stolen night unraveled everything. Lucas can't sleep without hearing his voice. Her body aches in ways she doesn't understand, and the dreams, they're becoming too real. She crossed a line. No human was meant to cross, and Cale. He's not letting her go, but what exactly did Cale awaken in her that night, and why are others suddenly hunting her as if she has something to hide? One forbidden night changed everything, but the true consequences are only just beginning. Lucas had always felt like she didn't quite fit into her world. In her small, quiet village tucked near the edge of the forest, everything was routine, safe, predictable, and honestly a little boring. Her parents warned her never to wander too far from the path, especially at night. They said there were things in those woods that didn't belong to this world. She used to laugh it off. Feria, scary bedtime stories, nothing real. But after that night with Cale, she wasn't so sure anymore. Ever since everything had changed, she couldn't focus. Couldn't think straight. She'd see flashes, him standing in the shadows, golden eyes, glowing, the feel of his breath near her neck. She would wake up in the middle of the night with her heart pounding like something was calling her back, and no matter how hard she tried to ignore it, her body kept reacting. Faster reflexes, heightened senses, it was like something inside her had been unlocked. Cale hadn't shown himself since that night, but Lucas could feel him somewhere near. Watching, waiting, and it wasn't just him anymore. She started noticing strange people in the village, faces she'd never seen before. Men with sharp eyes and quiet footsteps, women who watched her a little too closely. Once she swore she saw someone sniffing the air like they were tracking her scent. Then came the dreams, more vivid, more intense visions of Cale's world, wild, dangerous, ruled by ancient laws and primal bonds. In one dream, she saw herself standing beside him, alleged with a glowing symbol on her skin. In another, she was running through the forest, chased by something fast and furious. The line between dreams and reality was blurring too quickly. Lucas didn't know what Cale had done to her. She didn't know why her blood felt like it burned with something not quite human. But one thing was clear, she wasn't safe anymore. Whatever force had tied her to the alpha, that night wasn't going to let her walk away quietly, and somewhere deep in the forest, Cale was preparing for something coming fast, something that would change both their lives forever. The next morning, Lucas found a strange Elijah on her wrist. It was faint, almost like a bruise shaped like a crescent moon wrapped in thorns. She tried to rub it off, but it pulsed faintly beneath her skin, warm and steady like a second heartbeat. No one else could see it, not her mother, not her best friend Isabella. They all looked at her like she was imagining things, but Lucas knew better. This was the Elijah from her dream, the one Cale wore on his shoulder. She started keeping secrets, lying about where she was going, sneaking into the woods just to feel close to him again. It wasn't just desire. It was a pull, magnetic and unrelenting. But the deeper she went, the more danger she felt. Shadows moved without wind, Voices whispered her name from the trees, and the further she walked the clearer it became. She was being watched by more than just Kale. Back in the village, Isabella grew distant. She started avoiding Charlotte, giving her nervous looks and muttering something about rumors. Apparently, the newcomers in town were hunters, not the kind that tracked animals, but something else, rogue trackers sent by old packs to deal with threats to their kind. According to local legends, a human touched by alpha power became unpredictable, unstable and valuable. Some believed they were weapons, others believed they were curses. 3 was facing pressure from his own side. He was alpha of a fractured pack, barely holding control after years of old blood feuds and betrayal. The bond with Charlotte wasn't just forbidden, it made him vulnerable. Some of his own were calling him weak, others wanted her dead. And now in the middle of it all, Lucas stood alone, allied by a power she didn't understand, hunted by forces she couldn't see, and connected to a man she couldn't forget. But what scared her most wasn't the danger or the hunters. It was the change happening inside her. Her reflection sometimes shifted. Her senses sharpened every day, and that voice in her head, the one that sounded so much like Kale, was getting louder. Something was awakening, and it wasn't going to wait for her to be ready. The nights grew colder, and with every passing day, Lucas felt the walls closing and tighter around her. The Elijah on her wrist had darkened, glowing faintly under the moonlight like a warning she couldn't ignore. Her dreams turned restless, filled with whispers of ancient power and unfinished battles. Sometimes she woke, gasping, as if the forest itself was breathing down her neck. Kale's presence lingered like a shadow she couldn't shake. He was close but distant, his promises of protection tangled with warnings she couldn't fully understand. "You're not just a human anymore," he told her once, his voice low and urgent. "You carry something dangerous inside you now, the kind of danger that makes enemies out of old friends." And enemies were closing in. The hunters in the village had become bolder. Spotted them watching from the edges of the trees, their eyes cold and calculating. Isabella avoided her completely, the silence between them louder than any argument. Even her parents seemed to sense the growing threat, but said nothing, as if afraid to speak the truth aloud. Kale's pack was restless too. The old rivalries had reignited, and whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire. Some blamed Charlotte for the chaos, calling her a curse that weakened the Alpha's grip. Others saw her as a key, a tool to gain power or to destroy what Kale had built. Lucas was caught in the middle, her heart torn between fear and a strange new strength she didn't yet trust. One night, when the moon was full and heavy, Lucas felt the pull again, stronger than ever. It wasn't just a call, it was a demand. The forest seemed to pulse with energy, alive, with unseen eyes and waiting dangers. She knew Kale was near, but so were the hunters. Now, so were the shadows of her own changing nature, creeping closer with every heartbeat. The moment was coming, the moment when everything would break or everything would change. Charlotte's breath caught as she stood at the edge of the forest, the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. The night was silent, but the air was thick with tension. Somewhere in the darkness, Kale was waiting, and so were the hunters, and Lucas knew deep down there was no turning back from the path she'd chosen, no escaping the power she'd awakened, no ignoring the night that would change her forever. Aa's heart pounded as she stepped deeper into the shadowy forest, the glow from her Elijah pulsing in rhythm with her quickening breath. The air was thick with tension, each rustle of leaves, every distant howl felt like a warning. She thought she knew the dangers that awaited her hunters, rival packs, and the dark power stirring inside. But nothing could have prepared her for the truth that was about to surface. Just as she reached the clearing where Kale had once appeared, a cold wind swept through the trees, carrying a voice familiar yet chilling. "You've come far, eh?" The voice was smooth, confident, but laced with something dangerous. From the shadows stepped a figure she never expected to see. Isabella, her best friend's eyes, no longer held warmth. Instead, they burned with an eerie intensity that sent a shiver down Aria's spine. "Sorry," Isabella said softly, but her words felt like a knife. You were never just the girl from the village. To me you were the key. The reason I had to find Kale. Lucas staggered back, confusion crashing over her. Isabella had been avoiding her, acting distant. Now what secret had Isabella been hiding? The betrayal cut deeper than any hunter's blade. Yaa demanded. Why would you do this? Isabella's gaze flickered to the glowing Elijah on Arya's wrist. Because the packs don't want just any human touched by the Alpha's power. They want the one who can change the balance, and Kale, he's been hiding more than you know. Suddenly pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Isabella wasn't just a scared friend. She was a spy sent to track Lucas to report back. But for what, and more importantly, whose side was she truly on? Before Lucas could react, a sharp crack echoed from the trees. Kale emerged, eyes blazing, but this time his expression was unreadable. Half protective, half warning. She's right, he admitted, voice heavy with regret. There's more at stake than you realize. Arya's breath caught. The Alpha's power wasn't just a curse or a bond. It was part of an ancient prophecy, one that could either unite the Paw or destroy them all. And now, because of her, the fragile peace was breaking faster than anyone had feared. The hunters, the rival packs, even those closest to Kale, were no longer just threats. They were pawns in a game bigger than Charlotte had imagined. The Elijah on her wrist was a signal, a beacon calling out to forces hungry for control. And as the moon reached its peak, Lucas knew the next move could cost her everything. Torn between betrayal and truth, trust and survival, Lucas faced a new reality. The enemy was not just outside the forest but inside her circle, and the forbidden night that changed her forever was only the beginning of a storm far worse than she had ever dreamed. Lucas stood frozen, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her as Kale and Isabella exchanged tense glances. But in that moment, something inside her shifted. The fear and confusion melted into a quiet determination. She wasn't going to be a pawn in anyone's game. Not Kale's pack, not the hunters, not even her so-called friend. This power inside her, the Elijah she bore, was hers to control. Kale stepped forward, his usual confidence softened by the gravity of their situation. Lucas, you're stronger than you realize. The prophecy doesn't just speak of destruction. It speaks of change of balance. You are the bridge between three worlds. Isabella's expression flickered, regret mingling with resolve. I was sent to watch you to protect my pack's interests, but I see now that your path is different. We need to stop fighting each other before everything falls apart. For the first time in weeks, Lucas felt a fragile hope. She reached out, touching the glowing Elijah on her wrist. It wasn't just a curse or a symbol of danger. It was a reminder that she had power not just from the Alpha's strength, but from her own courage to face the unknown. Together they made a choice not to be ruled by fear or old grudges, but to rewrite the rules. The hunters would be warned, the rival packs called to a fragile peace, and the ancient laws would bend to new beginnings. Aerie looked up at the moonlit sky, feeling the forest's pulse around her. The bond with Kale was no longer just a secret or a threat. It was a promise of change, a promise that even in darkness there was light. Her world would never be the same, but now she was ready to face whatever came next. One forbidden night had changed her forever, but it was her strength that would define the future. And in that moment Lucas knew she was no longer just a girl from a quiet village. She was something more, something powerful, and finally she was free. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and leave a comment. If you enjoyed this story, this will help us create even more exciting stories just for